Hi, I'm Deacon Clonts, and I wanted to get with you today to tell you the story of Joseph. It's one of my favorite stories in the Bible, but there's so much there. So, excuse me if I ramble on. I'm going to tell you as much as I can about Joseph, but I want you to understand some things that go on. And I want you to look out for certain things as I go through this. I want you to look out for the evidence of faith, and I want you to look out for evidence of faithfulness. Now, what's the difference? Faith and faithfulness. Faith, faith is having the belief, but the belief doesn't mean anything if you don't exhibit that. And so faithfulness is exhibiting that faith, showing that you have that faith. And you have that, you show that by what you do. There's a passage in the New Testament that talks about faith without works being dead. And basically, it means that if you don't actually show the faith that you claim to have, then that faith really doesn't exist. But I'll show you in the story of Joseph. Now, the story begins when Joseph is about 17 years old. He has 11 brothers, 10 of whom are older, and his father is Jacob. Joseph was favored by his father. Now, as a parent, I try not to favor one child over the other, but because Joseph was born when Jacob was older, Jacob favored Joseph over his other children, especially over the other 10 who were born when he was younger. Now, he had a younger brother named Benjamin. We'll get to Benjamin in just a little bit. So he favored Joseph. And to show his favor for Joseph, he gave him this beautiful cloak. Beautiful. Some say that it had multiple colors, which is unusual for cloaks back in those days. They were usually just pretty bland and one color. But Joseph had this multicolored, beautiful cloak. And his brothers were jealous of that. His brothers were jealous of the favor that Jacob showed to Joseph. Now, you would think if that was the case, Joseph would choose to keep a low profile. That was not the case. Joseph even went and told his father when his brothers did something wrong. Of course, that didn't endear him any more to his brothers. They didn't like Joseph. They just didn't like him. So one day, as it happened, Joseph had a dream. Now, remember, I said he couldn't keep a low profile. So he had this dream. And what he did is he came and he told his brothers about the dream. But the dream involved them. Because what it said was that Joseph and his brothers had accumulated bundles of grain in the field. And there were 11 bundles of grain, one for each brother, including Joseph. And what Joseph said is that the 10 bundles bowed to his bundle. So his brothers were upset. What? You think we're going to bow to you? Oh, they were really hot then. But they didn't do anything. They were just mad at him, madder at him. Later on, Joseph came and told another story. Not a story, a dream. He had another dream, came and told them about his second dream. This one he told to his father as well. He said that the sun and the moon and 11 stars bowed down to him. Oh, his brothers were livid, livid. Even his father said, "You think your mom and I and your brothers are going to bow to you?" So his brothers were livid, but his father was like, "What is this boy thinking? Where could this possibly have come from?" On this particular occasion, the brothers were sent to the field to feed the livestock. And so they had to take the sheep at a distance because they had to find a place that had good grass so that the sheep could eat. But they were gone for a long time. So Jacob, the father, sent Joseph to find them. He was like, they've been gone a long time. Go see what's going on with them. So Joseph put on his cloak, the beautiful one, and he went to find his brothers. So he went to this one place where they were supposed to be, and they weren't there. So he asked somebody, "Have you seen my brothers?" And so, well, I saw him. I saw them, but they left here and they went somewhere else. And they told him where he could go to find his brothers. So Joseph went. And so as Joseph approached where his brothers were, he saw the flock and he saw his brothers. And they saw him too. But remember, they didn't like Joseph at all. It wasn't a matter of not very much. They didn't like him at all. So they conspired among themselves. This is while Joseph was approaching. Let's kill him. Let us slay the dreamer and see what becomes of his dream. Now, Joseph had no idea, so he approached his brothers like he normally would. And needless to say, it was not pretty. But you had one brother that said, let's not kill him. What do you mean we can't kill him? Uh, let's not kill him. I tell you what, let's put him in this hole over here, and later on we'll come back and get him, and we'll decide what to do with him then. So he convinced them. They threw Joseph in the hole. He couldn't get out, and they were to come back and get him later. Of course, Joseph pleaded for his life. He didn't want this to happen to him, and of course he was upset. But then one of the brothers said, wait a minute, let's do this. Let's sell him into slavery. See, back then slavery was a thing, and his brother decided to sell him into slavery. That way they'd be through with him. They wouldn't have to worry about him, wouldn't have to worry about his dreams anymore. Now, what they failed to realize is that those dreams were a gift from God. Joseph, in telling his dreams, was being true to the gift that God had given him, which is to be able to interpret dreams, which comes in handy a little bit later. So, what happens with Joseph? He's sold into slavery, and those people that bought him took him down to Egypt and sold him there to somebody else. They happened to sell him to this man in Egypt called Potiphar. I know it's a strange name, but that was his name. That's the kind of name they had back in Egypt, Potiphar. Anyway, Potiphar was an important man in Egypt. All right, he was the captain of the guard for Pharaoh, and he was really close, a powerful man. So Potiphar bought Joseph and put Joseph to work. But what he found was Joseph was a really, really, really good worker because Joseph was blessed by God, and God blessed anything that Joseph put his hands to. So because he was so good, Potiphar decided, look, I'm tired of worrying about everything that goes on around here. You're so conscientious. You're so good at what you do. You're so good at running things. I want you to run my house. All right? Rather than me saying what should be done, you said it. And everybody in my household has to listen to you, and you tell them what to do. And Joseph did an outstanding job. Potiphar's house prospered and everything was going great. But Potiphar was married. What's that got to do with anything? Well, you see, Potiphar's wife decided that she liked Joseph. Now, Joseph was having none of it, but she pursued him. But he turned her down every time. So she started scheming. Joseph is just catching it everywhere he goes. So she started scheming against him. And so what she decided to do is she decided to seduce him. And when he said no, she grabbed him she grabbed his garment and tried to force him, and he pulled away and ran. But guess what she did? She told everybody. She told the other servants, and eventually she told her husband that Joseph was coming on to her. And when she refused, he ran away. And she used his cloak as evidence. See, I grabbed this and he ran. Potiphar believed it. What did he do? He threw Joseph into prison. Wait a minute. I just got out of a hole that my brothers threw me in. They sold me into slavery. Now I'm down here. I'm doing my job. And this woman tells a lie on me. And now here I am in prison. Gracious, I just can't win. But I'm going to continue to trust in God. So he did his time in prison. And while he was there were a couple of men who had dreams. One of them used to be the baker for Pharaoh, and the other was the cup holder for Pharaoh. And they had these dreams, and they didn't know how to interpret the dreams. What do these dreams mean? I keep having these dreams, but I don't know what it means. So the cup holder, not the kind you have in a car. Okay, this is a long time ago. He was the Pharaoh's cup holder. He used to hold the cup for Pharaoh. So Pharaoh said, hey, I want my cup. He handed it to him. Important job, trust me. Back in Egypt. Not much now, but back in Egypt. But anyway, so the cup holder had this dream, and he told Joseph about it. And he said, can you interpret this for me? Joseph told him, I can't, but God can. So he told Joseph the dream, and Joseph said, what that means, what your dream means is that in 3 days, you're going to be restored, and you're going to be cup holder all over again, and you're going to be able to hold Pharaoh's cup again, and you're going to be in favor with Pharaoh. And of course, the cup holder was glad, but Joseph told him, listen, I'm in prison here, so you're about to get out. When you get out, make sure you tell Pharaoh about me so I can get up out of here. The next guy came, and this guy was the baker for Pharaoh, and he told Joseph his dream and waited for Joseph to interpret the dream. But his outcome wasn't pleasant. He was actually going to get out in 3 days too, which overall is a good thing. But he was going to be killed by Pharaoh. Everything happened just like Joseph said. The cup holder got out, and he went back to holding the cup for Pharaoh. And every time Pharaoh would turn around and say, give me my cup, he'd hand it to him. All right, so he was restored back. But guess what? He forgot about Joseph. Look, I got mine, so hey, I'm not even thinking about prison anymore. I want to put that out of my mind and not think about it anymore. So 2 years passed. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to tell you. The other guy got out in 3 days too. And sure enough, he was gone. So back to the story. 2 years passed. And Pharaoh started having dreams. Strange dreams. But if you know about pharaohs and kings and all of those, when they get upset, it's bad for everybody else. So Pharaoh was having these dreams, and he called the magicians, he called all of his wise men, and nobody could tell him what these dreams meant. But then the cup holder said, hey, Pharaoh, I remember back, well, I won't tell you where I was. I won't remind you of that because you might want to send me back there. But anyway, a couple of years ago, I met this guy and I had a dream and he told me what the dream meant. So I think he will be able to interpret your dream. So they sent to prison to get Joseph. Joseph, come here. Pharaoh needs you. But listen, he's been in prison for all this time, at least 2 years, probably 3 or 4 years. He had been in prison. So they had to clean him up. They cleaned him up, washed him up, shaved, that kind of can't go before Pharaoh looking all jacked up. So they got him ready to go before Pharaoh. And he went before Pharaoh, and Pharaoh says, I've been having these dreams, and they're driving me nuts. I had two of them, two different dreams. They're driving me nuts. And I don't know what they mean. And this this person can't tell me what the dream means. And this one over here can't tell me. They're supposed to be my wise men. They're supposed to be my counselors. They can't tell me what it means. Tell you what, you tell me what it means, I got you. Joseph said, look, I can't interpret your dreams, but God can. So tell me your dream. Well, I had this one dream where there were 7 cows. They were all fat and puffy and well fed and all of that. And there were 7 of them. But then there were 7 skinny cows that looked like they hadn't eaten in years. But the skinny cows ate the fat cows. You think the fat cows would eat the skinny ones because if they were fat, that means they're probably eating everything. But anyway, the way it happened is the malnourished cows ate the fat cows. But they didn't get fat. They stayed skinny. So I woke up from that. And the next night I had another dream. And in this dream, there were 7 grains that were fat, like cows. And then there were 7 grains that were skinny, like the skinny cows. The skinny grains ate the fat grains, but they didn't get fat. Now, tell me what that means. So Joseph said, okay, Pharaoh, God has shown me what that means for you. What it means is that there are going to be 7 years where Egypt will prosper. 7 years where everything will be plentiful in Egypt. But then that will be followed by 7 years where there will be famine throughout Egypt. And the famine is going to be so bad that it's going to make you forget about the 7 really good years. So what you need to do, Pharaoh, is get ready because a famine is coming. I know things look good right now, and they are going to look good for 7 years, but you need to get ready for the famine. So Pharaoh said, thank you. I appreciate that. None of these people could tell me what that meant, but that makes sense to me. So I need to put somebody over this. I need to make sure that we are ready, that Egypt is ready, that all of my people don't die because of the coming famine. And I need one person to get us ready. Since nobody else was smarter than you, Joseph, I want you to do it. In Egypt, there's me as Pharaoh, and there's you as Joseph. And everybody will listen to you. You tell them what to do, how to get ready, and they're going to do it. Anybody who doesn't do it will answer to me. So that made Joseph the most powerful person in all of Egypt besides Pharaoh. So what did Joseph do? He started getting ready. He started storing grain and making sure that there was plenty for everybody to eat, making sure that everybody ate, but that enough was stored so when the famine came, Egypt would be ready. Sure enough, eventually the famine came, Egypt was ready, and it made it through those 7 good years, then it made it through the 7 bad years. But 2 years into that seven, you remember Joseph's family, right? The brothers that sold him into slavery, the father that thought he was dead, they're still out there in the land of Canaan, which is close to Egypt. But when the famine hit, 2 years into the famine, they ran out. They didn't have any food. They didn't have enough grain to make it. So Jacob told his sons, 10 of them, to go down to Egypt because I heard that they had grain in Egypt. Go down there into Egypt and buy some grain. So they went to Egypt. But guess who they had to go to when they needed to buy grain? They had to go to Joseph. But it had been so long that they didn't recognize him. So they came in, they're before Joseph, and they're asking to buy grain. Joseph said, they don't even know who I am. So he was really stern with them, and made it seem that it seemed like he was mad at them, made it seem that he thought that they were spies. He accused them of being spies. Now he didn't really believe that, but he accused them of that. So he played this little game on them and told them, listen, go back and bring your youngest brother to me. See, they had gone through and told them about the family and all of that, the one that was dead, and they didn't tell him how he died, but they told him we have a brother that's dead. We have another that's at the house with daddy, excuse me, at back in Canaan with their father. And so Joseph made them go back and get it. But he said, look, I'm going to keep one of you. The rest of you, go back, bring your brother, and then we'll be straight. When they got back, eventually Joseph revealed himself to them as being their brother. Told them, don't worry about it. I'm not upset. This is not your doing. This is God's doing. God wanted me here. He wanted to save Israel. He wanted to save Egypt. And I was his vessel for doing that. You were simply a way for me to get here to do it. So don't worry about it. He gave them plenty of grain. He said, tell you what, go back to our father Jacob, bring him and all the relatives and everybody down here. And everybody will be well fed, our whole family, and we'll be good. He cleared this with Pharaoh, was allowed to happen, and that's how the Israelites got into Egypt. It was all about Joseph having faith, believing in God, despite the fact that his brothers doubted him, despite the fact that he went through hardships and trials and tribulations, he continued to have faith in God, and he continued to be faithful in everything that he did, and God eventually rewarded him for it by making him Lord over all Israel. So that's our story. What I want you to get from it, although there may be a lot that you get from What I really want you to get from it, though, is that you need to always have faith in God, believe in what He has called you to do. How do you know what He's called you to do? Pray. Get close to God. Find out what it is that He wants you to find out what the gift is that He's given to you. He's given all of us gifts, and we have to be faithful to those gifts by using them to the glory of God. Thank you for listening.